I know I shouldn't. A word of warning, before we move on, this video will be extremely controversial. Some people will be offended. I will be discussing Islam, the religion of peace, and my opinions. The opinions are my own. Let's begin. So, under the rule of Comrade Starmer, in England, where Christians have been arrested for praying silently in the street, every weekend in Staffordshire, where I live, in the town centre, followers of the religion of peace, well, the male followers because the women aren't allowed to speak, can turn up every Saturday and scream loudly that we should all join what, in my opinion, is their 7th century death cult. I've spoken to these gentlemen a few times, explained that I'm a YouTuber, and said I would like to interview them. And they agreed until today when I turned up with lapel mics and a selfie stick, then suddenly they wouldn't go on camera. I found this odd because I thought, if I had a message to spread, I'd do it by any means possible. Yet these gentlemen would not go on camera, even when I said I'd do the interview completely unedited and then post it while they were there, but they wouldn't go on camera. So, what I've got to do in this video is try and relay an interview that I couldn't record or take any notes from. This is Disgruntled Danny meets the Islamists. I began by asking why I, as someone from a Christian country, would want to join the Islamic faith, and I gave them my concerns. Those concerns being that everywhere that Islam goes tends to go downhill very quickly once they get into power. I'll use an example. Iran, until the late 1970s, was a peaceful, democratic, progressive country. But then the Islamists teamed up with what we would now call woke leftists. And once they had sufficient numbers, they overthrew the government. And what the Islamists did to the woke leftists was they killed them. And that's worth keeping in mind, given how many Muslim councillors are members of the Labour Party. Anyway, after a bit of back and forth, I had 3 main questions. Women's rights, the Prophet Muhammad, and October the 7th. Yes, Dan, keep it light. So I asked, why is it that Muslim women have to be covered head to toe? And I was told that women should not be naked in public, to which I agreed, because in the UK, if someone is naked in public, that breaks decency laws and the police turn up. But one of these gentlemen said to me, no, in the West, many women expose their arms and their legs. Fuck me, mate, have women got limbs? But the gentleman said to me that Islam respects women more than any other religion, which I find hard to believe, given that in Islamic countries, women often don't have the right to vote, to education, and can be stoned to death. And case in point, recently in Pakistan, and this is horrible, but I'll say it, a young woman was raped, and the ruling of the Sharia court was that the sister of the rapist could be raped by the victim's brother. And that made everything okay. Anyway, another one of the gentlemen tried to explain things to me with this analogy. He said, if you had a car that cost £1 million, would you want other people to see it? To which I replied, yes, I would. I don't know how much a Ferrari F40 costs these days, and I'm genuinely disturbed that the F80 is out this year. But if I had an F40, every fucker on earth would know it was mine. I'd be handing out business cards. I'd probably change my name to Danny F40. And I had to make the point that a car is an object, a woman is a person. But he kept on saying, well, women who expose themselves, they can tempt men. To which I thought, I go on holiday to Italy and Spain, where I see women in bikinis and often less. But I don't feel the need to force myself upon them. Yet, according to these, again, gentlemen, if a woman exposes herself, it's her fault if she gets sexually assaulted. It's 2025. So this led me on to my next big question about the Prophet Muhammad and his relationship with his youngest wife, Aisha. Because he married her when he was in his 50s and she was 6, and had sex with her when she was 9. Now, in my understanding, the Prophet Muhammad did many great things. He was also a slave-trading, genocidal warlord. That's not someone I'm going to look up to, as well as being a kiddie fiddler. Thus, I put it to the gentleman that in the Western world, a man in his 50s having sex with a 9-year-old girl is generally frowned upon. But they explained it to me that no, Aisha She was a woman, she'd had her period, so apparently the age of consent doesn't matter. But again, they explained no, but back then, people didn't live as long. So, if she hadn't got pregnant at 9 years old, maybe her children would have died when she was in her mid-20s. To which I had to point out, if people are dying in their 20s, how come the Prophet was in his mid-fucking-50s? And again, I gave them the chance to go on camera so it would be completely unbiased. They declined. Finally, I got to October the 7th, the massacre in Israel by Hamas to men, women and children, many of which were just attending a music festival. To which they said, that's fake news, it didn't happen. Fuck me backwards. And delving into it a little further, apparently the press and the news are controlled by the Jews, little rhyme there. So I pushed them a bit harder, and apparently the Holocaust also didn't happen. It was pro-Jewish propaganda. So, no rights for women, pro-kiddie fiddling and Holocaust deniers. Why would anyone want to join this fucking club? And I know this video isn't like most of my others, it isn't fun, it isn't funny at all. But it strikes me, in the UK, if I write something on Facebook, I can be arrested. But these people can go out week in, week out, spreading their, in my opinion, warped message to all and sundry. Some people would say we're living in a two-tier state. Anyway, that's the end of this video. If you enjoyed it, it's probably best you get psychiatric help, but like and subscribe if you haven't already. If you can leave a like or a comment, that helps the algorithm. If you'd like to support me in making these videos, because let's be blunt, this one isn't getting monetized, there's a link in the description to buy me a coffee, and as ever, thanks for watching. This video comes with the pollen's up, my hay fever is fucking out of control. Hay fever. So he said, if you had a car that cost £1 million, would you want other people to see it? And I thought, if I had a car that cost £1 million, I wouldn't be chatting with you in Stoke-on-Trent on a fucking Saturday. I didn't even touch on terrorism. Fuck it. I got distracted by a fly. Fucking pollen. Pollen is plant semen. Basically, I'm walking around here like some Japanese lass in a bukkake video. One last thing, if you're watching this on the day of release, I hope to see you tomorrow at 6 PM UK time for the Disgruntled Danny Live.